Good evening, and thank you for joining me. I would like to tell you about such an interesting, strange journey that I've been taking. And it all began when I researched and discovered how to make my own Tesla radio, also known as a Tesla Spirit radio. Nikola Tesla documented his findings, as he did with all of his experiments. Allow me to quote, "My first observations positively terrified me, as there were present in them something mysterious, not to say supernatural. And I was alone in the laboratory at night." Nikola Tesla, 1901. "The sounds I'm listening to every night at first appear to be human voices, conversing back and forth in a language I cannot understand." Nikola Tesla, 1918. So I wanted to take my radio to the next level and create this amplifier out of this old tube radio. And I connected the two using the potentiometer of the AM and lowering it to the range of 0 to 500, which is claimed by ghost hunters to be the range in which you will register paranormal activity that some say are actually voices of entities from the great beyond. So after creating the radio, I tried it out in a couple of field tests of areas with known psychical spirit activity. Sure enough, some very strange noises came out of the device, noises that could be interpreted as voices. But as a researcher, I was not yet convinced. I wanted a secondary measurement. So I looked at the current ghost hunting equipment and discovered one of the tools of the trade is known as an electrical magnetic field sensing device. It's believed that ghosts emit an electromagnetic field when their presence is strong and close. And by using one of these apparatus, one can use it as a psychical sensory device. So I decided if I had this with my Tesla radio, then I could be a little more certain that there was some paranormal phenomenon present creating those sounds in the Tesla Spirit radio. Thus, I would have my secondary measure. So after looking at various models of EMF meters, sensors, for my purposes I decided I needed an EMF box that would set in one place. I could see it from afar in low light, if not complete darkness, and also have some sense of finer measurement. So I decided I needed to build my own. I enjoy that process anyway, so I came to my workbench and got all my parts together to see what I could create. Finally, after several weeks of schematics and experimentation and work, I finished my EMF meter. As you can see, it has a red light that I can see from afar that will be triggered when an entity is within 2 to 3 feet and has an EMF emission of 2 to 7 milligauss. 2 to 7 milligauss is the range that traditional ghost hunters look for to suggest that there is a paranormal entity present. So now that I've built my EMF machine, I of course want to use it. The most efficient method would be if I could learn how to create a portal into the spirit realm. So I began my search in historical archive, the old occult sciences, Kabbalah, alchemy, and the ancient grimoires. So around the Victorian period, before and a little after, the 18th and 19th century saw a resurgence in the interest of occult sciences, an interest in alchemy, astrology, natural magic, and necromancy. During this time, there were many leaders already existing in higher society in England and across Europe, and they were able to organize secret societies in order to deepen the knowledge of grimoires and ancient practices of necromancy and astrology. Much of the ancient esoteric knowledge was brought to the forefront and refined and honed. Many of the Victorian magicians were able to take ancient writings and grimoires of the dark magic practices of the past and compile them, thereby making them more accessible and bring them forth into their time. It was in one such compendium that I was able to locate guidance on creating a talisman that could be capable of opening a doorway into the spirit world. However, in order to be capable of opening a portal, the talisman would have to be charged using a necromantic ritual. Many of the works indicated that ritual magic was best done in a graveyard or perhaps in an area with high paranormal activity. I considered and researched a great many locations for the ritual of the talisman charging and the EMF meter testing. Several factors went into this decision, including geography, accessibility, and privacy. I finally settled on a location deep in the farmlands of Kentucky. A friend of a friend owned acres upon acres out in the middle of nowhere. To get there, it required a hike through the woods, over hills, and across fields, to a clearing that was once a small area graveyard. He gave me a quick tour of the area. He told me that the grassy field was where the graveyard was once located. Since then, it's been quite overgrown. I was also told that at the edge of the graveyard, away from all of the rest of the graves, was the burial place of a witch who had sold her soul to the devil in return for dark and evil powers. And these powers she used to strike fear into her neighbors throughout the countryside back in the day. I found the location of what might have been the witch's grave, and for some reason, people sealed it over with stone. Whatever the reason, it makes the perfect site for our psychical experiment. Since the location is so far out from any roads, the farmer was gracious enough to bring me and my equipment out in the wagon of his tractor and drop us off. Since the timing of our operation will be so late in the night, I also set up camp, and I'll be spending the night, returning to civilization in the morning when the farmer returns with his tractor and wagon. Never connects with us while you're at work, your adults experience you. Well, we definitely had some EMF activity created by something that moves, and some EMF activity that was significant. It's suggestive of not only an entity was present, but also that our portal had become charged. The next step will be to go back to the graveyard with the EMF detector and the Tesla radio, pair them together to have confirmation that we are indeed having contact with something from the other side.